Every single Mortal Kombat character you know was stolen, borrowed, or accidentally created from something else. Scorpion's iconic spear move came from a rejected cowboy lasso. Johnny Cage is literally just Jean-Claude Van Damme with a different name. Shang Tsung walked straight out of a 1986 John Carpenter film. That's why today, I'm breaking down the real-world inspirations behind every major Mortal Kombat character and where they actually came from. Starting with the undead ninja who was born from a football game, Scorpion. Scorpion is supposed to be Mortal Kombat's most iconic ninja with a carefully crafted backstory, and after 3 decades of franchise history, we know the character was basically invented by accident. The official story sounds deliberate enough. Co-creator John Tobias discovered a 1984 book called China's Ninja Connection by Li Xing that claimed Chinese assassins called the Lin Kuei inspired Japanese ninjas. Tobias used this to create the Shirai Ryu versus Lin Kuei rivalry that defines Scorpion and Sub-Zero. The yellow costume was chosen to represent fire opposing Sub-Zero's ice. The character was designed as a vengeful specter from Japanese folklore, an onryo driven by rage to exact revenge on those who wronged him. The name Hanzo Hasashi references the legendary samurai ninja Hattori Hanzo from feudal Japan. Classic ninja revenge story with deep cultural roots. But then you look at how Scorpion was actually created. The yellow costume wasn't a fire symbol. It was a palette swap because Mortal Kombat 1 only had 8 megabytes of graphics data, and the team needed to save money by reusing the same character model. Developer Ed Boon admitted they changed colors to create 2 characters from the same memory. The actual filming costume was red, purchased from a Chicago costume shop, then recolored digitally. The signature spear move has an even stranger origin. Ed Boon originally wanted Scorpion to throw a cowboy lasso. Actor Daniel Pesina refused, reportedly saying, "I'm not doing any Wonder Woman." Pesina introduced the Chinese rope dart instead, a weapon that has zero connection to Japanese ninjas. The kunai blade aesthetic was added later to make it look more ninja-like. And here's the part nobody talks about. The name Hanzo Hasashi didn't exist in 1992 when Scorpion debuted. That backstory wasn't created until Mortal Kombat Mythology, Sub-Zero in 1997, 5 years after players first selected him. The entire Shirai Ryu clan, the family massacre, the Quan Chi manipulation, all of it was retrofitted onto a character who originally had no story beyond angry at Sub-Zero. The iconic "get over here" catchphrase that defined the character came from Ed Boon, working on a football video game called High Impact Football, where players yelled stupid taunts. Boon thought it would be funny to have Scorpion yell something while throwing the spear. That's it. No deeper meaning. Just leftover inspiration from a completely different game. This single character became the face of Mortal Kombat based entirely on improvisation and technical limitations. But if Scorpion's accidental origins seem shocking, wait until you learn about the character who was literally designed to be someone else entirely. Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage wasn't inspired by Jean-Claude Van Damme. And that statement is technically true, despite looking like the most obvious lie in gaming history. The official version sounds simple enough. Mortal Kombat co-creators Ed Boon and John Tobias wanted to make a fighting game starring Van Damme after his success in Bloodsport, 1988, and Universal Soldier, 1991. They called Van Damme's people to pitch the idea. The deal fell through because Van Damme wanted actual money while Midway offered a percentage. So they created Johnny Cage, a cocky Hollywood martial arts actor with sunglasses and a name tattooed on his chest. The character's appearance in MK1 was directly lifted from Van Damme's Bloodsport look. The famous nut punch fatality came straight from Van Damme's signature splits punch. Cage even wears the same style pants. Van Damme finally appeared as an official Johnny Cage skin in Mortal Kombat 1, completing the 30-year circle. But then Daniel Pesina, the martial artist who actually portrayed Johnny Cage, contradicts all of this. According to Pesina in multiple interviews, Johnny Cage was originally modeled after Danny Rand, also known as Marvel Comics' Iron Fist, not Van Damme. Pesina explicitly states that John Tobias designed the character as Danny Rand before filming began. The Van Damme elements were only added after Midway's boss saw their work and suggested getting the Belgian action star involved. When that deal collapsed, they kept some Van Damme influence, but the foundation remained Iron Fist. The evidence actually supports Pesina's claim. Johnny Cage throws green energy projectiles called force balls that function exactly like Iron Fist's Chi-based powers. Both characters are wealthy. Cage from his acting career and Rand from his business holdings at Rand Medium. Both balanced their professional lives with deadly martial arts tournaments. Cage has a large tattoo on his chest, similar to Iron Fist's dragon insignia. The mystical flair in Cage's fighting style mirrors Iron Fist's supernatural martial arts tradition from the mystical city of Kunlun. Here's what nobody reconciles. Mortal Kombat was pitched to Midway as Van Damme, the arcade game, in 1991. But Pacina filmed Johnny Cage for 3 days before the Van Damme deal was even proposed to Midway's owner. The character already existed with green energy powers and the name Johnny Cage before Van Damme's involvement was discussed. The timeline proves Pacina correct. The Bloodsport connection runs deeper than visual appearance. The entire Mortal Kombat concept mirrors Bloodsport's underground kumite tournament. Frank Dux, Van Damme's character, enters an illegal full-contact fighting competition. Liu Kang does the same thing. The Test Your Might bonus stage copies the brick-breaking demonstrations from Bloodsport. Even the digitized actor technology was chosen specifically because it could capture Van Damme-style martial arts performances. This makes Johnny Cage the only fighting game character built from 3 separate inspirations simultaneously. The visual design and some moves are pure Bloodsport. The powers and wealthy background are Danny Rand. The cocky Hollywood personality is a parody of 1980s action heroes in general. But if one character born from legal rejection seems messy, wait until you learn about the villain who walked directly out of a completely different franchise, Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung is Mortal Kombat's soul-stealing sorcerer who hosts the deadly tournament. And his entire character design walked straight out of a 1986 John Carpenter film that bombed at the box office. John Tobias openly confirmed the inspiration. In a 2011 Twitter post, he acknowledged his early character sketch showed real obvious influence from Big Trouble in Little China's Lo Pan. A 2020 interview elaborated that the film had a superficial influence on Shang Tsung. The original MK1 appearance featured an elderly floating sorcerer in elaborate Chinese robes who manipulated warriors for his master's purposes. David Lo Pan, played by James Hong in Big Trouble in Little China, was a 2,000-year-old sorcerer cursed to exist without flesh, transforming between a decrepit wheelchair-bound old man and a powerful young warrior. He commanded supernatural servants, wore traditional Chinese garments projecting sinister regality, and orchestrated elaborate ceremonies to break his curse. Shang Tsung followed the exact same template, but then you look at how the character was actually created. Ho Sung Pak played both Liu Kang and the elderly Shang Tsung in MK1 because the original actor Eric Kincaid wasn't available for reshoots. The same person portrayed hero and villain using John Tobias's personal Hi-8 camcorder. The elderly appearance lasted exactly 1 game before MK2 aged him down to approximately 19 years old when the story explained Shao Kahn restored his youth. The signature shape-shifting ability that defines Shang Tsung came from pure accident. According to documented development history, the morphing power existed because arcade machines had no memory left for his character sprites. Since other fighters were already loaded, letting him transform into them required 0 additional storage. Technical limitation became franchise-defining ability. The soul-stealing curse was retrofitted in the 1992 Midway comic, revealing he was cursed by the gods for failing to appease them after winning the first tournament 500 years prior. This mechanic directly parallels documented Chinese folklore about sorcerers stealing souls to extend their lives. Historian Philip Kuhn's research on the 1768 Qing dynasty sorcery documented genuine beliefs that practitioners could drain souls for power and longevity. Here's the part that completes the circle. Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa became the definitive Shang Tsung through the 1995 film, an MK11's Recreation. Tagawa had an uncredited role in Big Trouble in Little China as a Wing Kong member serving Lo Pan. The actor who became gaming's iconic sorcerer literally appeared in the film that inspired the character 30 years before he portrayed him. Ed Boon also voiced the original Shang Tsung in MK1, along with Liu Kang, Kano, Johnny Cage, and the announcer. Every word Shang Tsung spoke came from one of Mortal Kombat's creators. But if creating a villain from a cult film seems deliberate, wait until you learn about the character whose name came from watching Arnold Schwarzenegger choke a hockey player. Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero wasn't inspired by martial arts cinema or Asian mythology, and that's strange considering he's the other half of Mortal Kombat's most iconic ninja rivalry. The character started the same way as Scorpion, John Tobias created a mysterious figure called simply Ninja for a canceled Midway project, drawing from the same Li Jing book that claimed Chinese Lin Kuei assassins inspired Japanese ninjas. When technical limitations forced palette swaps for MK1, Tobias split the ninja concept into two opposing characters, one Chinese and one Japanese, to embody the supposed historical rivalry. Sub-Zero was originally named Tundra. He would wear blue to represent ice against Scorpion's yellow fire. The Lin Kuei backstory, the sliding kick, the ice blast projectile, all came from Tobias's original vision. But then a member of the design team watched The Running Man, 1987. The film starred Arnold Schwarzenegger as Ben Richards, a wrongly convicted man forced to compete in a deadly televised game show where professional killers called stalkers hunted contestants. One stalker was named Sub-Zero, played by Professor Toru Tanaka, a hockey-themed assassin who wore goalie pads, skated on ice, fired explosive pucks, and swung a bladed hockey stick. After strangling him with barbed wire, Schwarzenegger delivered the iconic line, "Here's Sub-Zero, now Plane Zero." The design team member suggested naming Mortal Kombat's Ice Ninja after this character, not because of any thematic connection or similar powers, but simply because the name sounded cool. The Running Man Sub-Zero had zero cryomancy abilities and zero connection to Chinese assassin clans. He was just a hockey goon with a memorable name that happened to involve cold. Here's what makes this stranger. The Running Man was released in 1987, 5 years before MK1. The film bombed at the box office despite Schwarzenegger's star power. Sub-Zero the Stalker was one of the least memorable villains in the movie, ranking below Dynamo, an opera-singing electric suit guy, Fireball, Jim Brown with a flamethrower, and Buzzsaw, chainsaw on motorcycle. Multiple reviews called him lame and criticized his dated hockey pad costume. He existed for maybe 7 minutes of screen time before Arnold killed him. This throwaway character from a forgotten Schwarzenegger film became the namesake for one of gaming's most recognizable fighters. Not Sub-Zero, the Cryomancer descended from ancient Edenian warriors. Not Sub-Zero, the Lin Kuei Grandmaster who rebuilt his clan into honorable warriors. Sub-Zero, the guy in hockey pads who got choked out in a dystopian game show. The powers themselves came from Tobias wanting elemental opposition, fire versus ice. The spine-rip fatality that made Sub-Zero infamous was borrowed directly from Predator, 1987, where the alien hunter tears out a human skull with a spine attached. Ed Boon admitted it was his favorite fatality from MK1 and the most controversial, so violent that Nintendo forced the SNES port to replace it with the freeze and shatter move that became Sub-Zero's signature. Daniel Pacina portrayed the original Sub-Zero, wearing the same red costume digitally recolored blue. The same actor, same moves, same filming session as Scorpion, just different colors and one ice blast animation. Zero budget for separate character development. The backstory complexity came later. MK1 presented Sub-Zero, Bai Han, as a mysterious Lin Kuei assassin with no explained origin for his ice powers. Mortal Kombat Mythologies, Sub-Zero, 1997, revealed his real name 5 years after his debut. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, 2002, introduced the Cryomancers, an ancient Edenian race with natural ice manipulation abilities, explaining that Sub-Zero descended from these interdimensional beings who fled to Earthrealm and interbred with humans. The Dragon Medallion, the scar from Kung Lao, the defection from the Lin Kuei, the unmasked appearance critics compared to Batman, all retrofitted onto a character named after a forgettable movie villain. But if borrowing a name from a failed Schwarzenegger film seems random, wait until you learn about the character who's literally just Bruce Lee, Liu Kang. Liu Kang is Mortal Kombat's chosen champion and the face of the franchise, and he's literally just Bruce Lee wearing different pants. The character started as something completely different. John Tobias originally designed a Japanese samurai named Minamoto Yoshitsune, based on a legendary military commander from feudal Japan. He was supposed to be a traditional bald monk in robes representing the Shaolin Temple. The Midway staff rejected the name because they just couldn't deal with it. Tobias renamed him Liu Kang as a direct nod to Gordon Liu, who starred in the 36th Chamber of Shaolin, 1978, a massively popular kung fu film at the time. The character's ethnicity changed from Japanese to Chinese to match the new inspiration. But then, Ho Sung Pak refused to shave his head for the role. That single decision transformed Liu Kang from a traditional monk into a Bruce Lee clone. Pak's refusal forced the design team to pivot completely. depicting the character as a renegade monk who grew his hair back. The shirtless look with black pants came directly from Enter the Dragon. The fighting stance with hands positioned in specific ways copied Bruce Lee's iconic pose. Even the background footage in Liu Kang's MK1 ending used actual shots of Bruce Lee's hand from Enter the Dragon. Technically, Bruce Lee appeared in the first Mortal Kombat game. Ed Boon confirmed they filmed an entire intro sequence where Liu Kang wore a jacket, took it off with a flourish just like Bruce Lee, then posed dramatically. The animation looked great. They cut it because arcade memory limitations forced them to choose between the intro and an additional special move. Gameplay won over Bruce Lee tribute. Every single aspect of Liu Kang's character screams Bruce Lee inspiration. The high-pitched battle cries that fans called turkey noises came from Bruce Lee's vocal fighting style. The flying kick was practically a Bruce Lee trademark move. The bicycle kick animated him pedaling through the air while screaming. His dragon symbolism matched Lee's personal icon for Jeet Kune Do. Mortal Kombat, Deadly Alliance explicitly showed Liu Kang using Jeet Kune Do, the fighting philosophy Bruce Lee invented. The backstory parallels Enter the Dragon beat for beat. Both feature Shaolin monks entering a deadly island tournament hosted by an evil sorcerer. Both travel from Hong Kong by boat to reach the secret location. Both seek to restore honor to their temple after it was disgraced. Strategy guides from the 1990s literally named Liu Kang's dragon transformation fatality Enter the Dragon in tribute. Malibu Comics published both Mortal Kombat and Bruce Lee comics simultaneously, even cross-promoting them. In Italy, they released both under a single combined title, Mortal Kombat and Bruce Lee. John Tobias described Liu Kang as an amalgam of Bruce Lee and Gordon Liu's screen personas. Gordon Liu's 36th Chamber character represented the disciplined training journey. Bruce Lee represented the fighter who arrived at mastery. Liu Kang combined both inspirations into gaming's most obvious martial arts cinema homage. The character, who was supposed to be a bald Japanese samurai named Yoshitsune, became a shirtless Chinese martial artist who screams like Bruce Lee because one actor wouldn't shave his head. But if copying Bruce Lee seems obvious, wait until you learn about the Thunder God who borrowed his entire look from a single henchman in a John Carpenter film, Raiden. Raiden is Mortal Kombat's Thunder God and protector of Earthrealm, and his entire visual design came from a nameless henchman, with 7 minutes of screen time in Big Trouble in Little China. John Tobias confirmed the inspiration himself on Twitter. The seed for Raiden started when he discovered Raijin, the Japanese thunder deity, at Chicago's Field Museum in the early 1990s. Traditional depictions show Raijin as a pot-bellied demon carrying drums. Tobias and Ed Boon rejected that aesthetic entirely, wanting a lightning-throwing warrior instead. They stripped away the religious aspects and created something that looked nothing like the original deity. Then Tobias saw lightning from Big Trouble in Little China and took the character's most distinctive feature, the iconic conical straw hat. That single visual element defined Raiden's appearance for 30 years, but then you examine the actual characters. Lightning appears in Big Trouble in Little China, 1986, as one of the three storms, supernatural henchmen serving the evil sorcerer Lo Pan. He rides lightning bolts, fires electrical attacks, and has glowing eyes. He wears a conical straw hat and traditional Chinese robes. His role is pure muscle for the villain. He gets maybe 7 minutes of total screen time before Jack Burton defeats him. Zero character development, just visual spectacle and electrical powers serving an evil master. Raiden does none of this. He protects Earthrealm rather than serving evil. He mentors chosen warriors instead of fighting directly in the first tournament. His power level stands above mortals as an authority figure. The Mortal Kombat team took Lightning's visual design so seriously that they later retconned the story to say Raiden never actually fought in MK1's tournament because a god shouldn't be fighting mortals. Tobias admitted Lightning had zero characterization in common with Raiden. He knew players would make the comparison because of the shared hat. The entire inspiration was purely visual. Take the cool-looking Lightning guy's hat and put it on a completely different character with opposite motivations. Carlos Pacina portrayed Raiden in the first 2 games, wearing the same hat Lightning wore 6 years earlier. The lightning effects, the flying pose, the electrical bolts shooting from his hands, all copied from that brief Big Trouble in Little China henchman. Even the glowing eyes came from Lightning's appearance. The backstory, the protector role, the mentor relationship with Earthrealm's champions, none of that existed in the source material. Midway built an entirely new character around a borrowed costume piece from a forgotten villain's lackey. Here's what nobody acknowledges. Big Trouble in Little China has 3 Storm Brothers: Lightning, Thunder, and Rain. Mortal Kombat only took Lightning's hat and ignored the other 2 completely. The franchise's most iconic Thunder God was named Raiden and dressed like Lightning, not Thunder. They didn't even use the right Storm. But if copying a background character's hat seems lazy, wait until you learn about the female fighter who's literally just a 1980s action star with a different name. Sonya Blade. Sonya Blade is Mortal Kombat's original female fighter and special forces officer. And she's literally just Cynthia Rothrock with a name change because Midway couldn't afford the real thing. The character wasn't part of the original plan. Sonya was added late in development when the team decided MK1 needed a female fighter. They modeled her after Cynthia Rothrock, a martial artist who dominated 1980s and 90s action B-movies. Her blonde hair, military persona, and acrobatic fighting style from films like China O'Brien became Sonya's entire aesthetic. The name Sonya came from Ed Boon's sister. Elizabeth Malecki portrayed the character using digitized sprites, even designing her own costume based on 1990s gym wear. But then, Cynthia Rothrock confirmed what actually happened. Midway contacted Rothrock directly to appear in the game as herself. She was at the peak of her film career, and her fee was too expensive for their arcade budget. So they created Sonya Blade instead, using Rothrock's face, signature moves, and fighting style without paying her. Rothrock stated in a 2018 interview, "They contacted me when I was in my prime in terms of my career, and I was too expensive for them. So they used my face and the moves I was most recognized for and just changed her name." This wasn't inspiration or homage. This was budget replacement. They literally tried to hire the actual martial arts star, failed, then created a character who looked exactly like her and fought exactly like her. The only difference was the name on the character select screen. Sonya and Kano were the least popular characters in the original Mortal Kombat, according to player data. The female fighter added as an afterthought, modeled after an actress they couldn't afford, became one of the franchise's least played fighters. Elizabeth Malecki, who portrayed Sonya, later sued Midway in 1997 for unpaid royalties and unauthorized use of her likeness in MK2. She lost the case and was replaced by Carrie Hoskins in Mortal Kombat 3. March 2024's Black Belt magazine named Rothrock the #1 most influential female martial artist on the planet. She's in the Black Belt Hall of Fame alongside Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. Arnold Schwarzenegger inducted her into the International Sports Hall of Fame in 2016. And Mortal Kombat created their primary female character by copying her because they couldn't afford to license her actual image. But if replacing an expensive martial arts star seems practical, wait until you learn about the villain whose entire design came from a single Arnold Schwarzenegger film poster. Kano. Kano is Mortal Kombat's cybernetic-eyed mercenary and leader of the Black Dragon crime syndicate. And his entire modern identity exists because one English actor faked an Australian accent so convincingly that developers rewrote the character's nationality. The original Kano appeared in MK1 1992 as a Japanese-American criminal, the last character added to the roster. Ed Boon confirmed Kano's infrared cybernetic eye borrowed directly from Arnold Schwarzenegger's exposed T-800 endoskeleton in The Terminator, 1984. The red glowing optic receptor, the metallic faceplate, the intimidating cyborg aesthetic, all came from watching Schwarzenegger's iconic villain. But then Trevor Goddard portrayed Kano in the 1995 Mortal Kombat film. Goddard played the character with a thick Australian accent, complete with Australian slang and mannerisms. The portrayal was so well received that Ed Boon and John Tobias permanently retconned Kano's entire background. Starting with Mortal Kombat, Special Forces 2000, every subsequent game made Kano Australian, gave him Goddard's accent, and altered his appearance to match the film version with longer hair and facial hair instead of the original bald look. Here's what makes this stranger. Trevor Goddard wasn't Australian. He was born in Sussex, England in 1962. His parents came forward in 2003 after his death to confirm Trevor was British, not Australian, and that his claims of being a reformed Australian criminal were complete fabrication. Goddard had fooled Hollywood so thoroughly with his fake accent that he edged out authentic Australian actors for roles. He maintained the deception throughout his career, including his role as Lieutenant Commander Mick Brumby on JAG from 1998 to 2001. One actor's fake accent changed a video game character's nationality forever. The original Japanese-American Kano, described in Jeff Roven's official Mortal Kombat novelization, simply ceased to exist after 1995. Every game since Mortal Kombat 3, every comic, every adaptation made Kano Australian as tribute to Goddard's performance. When Goddard died in 2003 from an accidental drug overdose at age 40, NetherRealm continued honoring his portrayal. The character's visual evolution followed the same pattern. The original Kano had Richard DeVizio's bald or receding hairline. Film Kano had Goddard's full head of hair, muscular physique, and gruff presence. Modern Kano sports black dragon tattoos, appears shirtless with bandolier, and speaks with the Australian slang Goddard invented for the role. Australian actor Josh Lawson played Kano in the 2021 reboot and upcoming Mortal Kombat 2, cementing the retcon. The Terminator connection came full circle in Mortal Kombat 11 when the actual T-800 appeared as DLC. During character interactions, the Terminator asks Kano if he's also a Terminator due to his exposed metallic face and red eye, the inspiration acknowledging its descendant. If you enjoyed this video and want to see Mortal Kombat's biggest mysteries explained in 25 minutes, click the video on screen now.